ED.
Yo,
It's Purdy time. It's Purdy time.
did you
Half
say
past
party?
Purdy, 15 for
Party?
Purdy.
Party or Purdy?
Woo! All that. This is the Believe in 49ers podcast on Believe. He is Super Bowl champion Eric Davis. I'm Rahshaun Haylock. Plenty to get to on this show. Brock Purdy. It's his time. And oh, by the way, his first career start will come against the GOAT in a homecoming. Maybe his last
Uh-huh.
appearance in the Bay. How'd you like to be Brock Purdy this week? We'll get into that. We'll get ED's keys to a win, hopefully, this weekend coming up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we'll discuss all those things as well as a little bit of defensive talk and could there be any other quarterbacks in the fold? You know what? I did a horrible thing. I teased that at the beginning of the last show and didn't get to it. That's the criminal sin in all the broadcasts.
That
If
it
you
is.
tease it, you got to
Yes.
do it. And your
Yep.
boy dropped the ball. I fumbled on the one on that play. So we will get to that. And if not, and you can send me all the hate mail that you want because it will very much be deserved. As always, we want to continue to encourage you to download, subscribe, rate, and review. We're located wherever you find your podcast. If there's a like or follow button on your particular podcast subscription service, go ahead, hit that like or follow button. Give us a follow on YouTube as well. Get involved in the show. We're on social media at Haylock on Twitter. He is at _ Eric Davis _ and on Instagram, I'm at Watch Ray Ray. He is at ED25. As always, we are brought to you by the fine folks at Bet Online. College bowl season is just around the corner. Of course, they'll have your action on that. NFL season is ramping up. Look, it's December football. BA told y'all last week, like, hey, it's December football. It's go time. And so you got all that going on in the NFL. You got the NBA getting into full swing. Not quite at Christmas yet, which a lot of people consider the official start of the NBA season. So
Yep.
we're just now starting to cook. Baseball's right around the corner, but you got free agency going on. NHL, look, they got it all. Whatever you want, hit up the fine folks over at Bet Online. They always have you covered. The fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events. So head over to betonline.ag to join and receive 50% off your welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure you use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. Bet Online, where the game starts. He is Super Bowl champion Eric Davis. I'm Rahshaun Haylock. Some good news, I
Okay.
guess. I mean, I waxed poetic on Jimmy on the last show. I pretty much turned the chapter.
You dirt napped him.
So you're saying there's a chance, is what they're saying. It's not a
Yep.
Liz Frank, which obviously would have been huge, right? I mean, who knows? Like that thing can go wrong. That thing has gone wrong for
They rarely go well.
yeah,
Yes.
for so many people, right? And
Hmm.
so thankfully for Jimmy's sake, it's not that. So they're saying now 7 to 8 weeks. And so you put that on the calendar, and the first possible return date, that would be the 7th week, would be the divisional round of the playoffs. So as I sit here right now and I look at this thing, um, I mean, I think he's done. I mean, I think it's a great conversation to have. I mean, it's hope
Yeah.
springs eternal. I mean, look, I'm all about having optimism, this, that, or the other, but I just think that is a rough ask. So how about that, ED? What if he's able to come back the divisional round, right? And the kid's rolling. Do you
Look at it this way. This is the thing right now. If he's able to come back to the divisional round, if there is a divisional round, if you are playing in the divisional
that
round,
part, that part?
that means that you've figured out how to win with Purdy at the quarterback position. You figured out what you need to do to be able to continue to win games, to win your division, to have yourself in position, not necessarily win your division, but you're right. We're saying divisional round, not wild card round.
Not wild card round. So let's set this up here,
Which
ED.
means you are already in the playoffs.
Yeah, so let's set this up here, right? Like right now,
Okay.
as we sit here and look at this, best case scenario, right,
Mm-hmm.
would be a home game in the wild card round, and on the divisional, you may be on the road. There's a chance you could be on the road, depending on how things
Yeah.
shake out. It doesn't seem likely at this point that they would get to 1 or 2, right?
Yeah.
And so at some point you're probably gonna have to travel. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's going to have to happen. Yeah.
so you're looking at, just
Yeah.
as we set the table right now, you're looking at, okay, if you get to the divisional round, that means Purdy would have won a wild card, and now you're on the
Yeah.
road to take
So
on someone.
so back to what I was saying. If you're in the divisional round, that means that you've made the playoffs. That means that you've figured out how to sustain where you are, how to continue winning, because you're going to have to win more games from this point to be there in that position. You're going to have to win more games. So you're already a playoff team. So now, do you look to have Jimmy back on the roster if he is ready? Yes, of course, of course. I know the question that you're asking is, do you make a change? Well, that depends on the play of the quarterback, because you're already winning games. Are you winning them in spite of the quarterback play, or are you winning them with the help of the quarterback play? That's to be determined. I'll put it to you this way: if the offensive line had been blocking really well, if they were a catalyst to them winning games moving forward and getting to that same position, the divisional round, and the offensive line was, they were pass protecting well, run blocking, and we were sitting here talking about and giving these guys their flowers for their offensive line play. But Trent Williams had been injured and missed 4 or 5 games and wouldn't be available until the divisional round. Would you say, nah, they're rolling, so we're not going to put Trent on the field?
No,
See,
Trent's your best player. You put
see,
him
see
back.
that. So that's what I'm saying. Whenever you have your better players, whoever's the best player at the position, you're going to say you're going to like your odds better with that player at the position. So I know what everyone always gets at this time. Like, well, if Purdy is rolling, if he's playing well, if all of these things happen, why mess with the chemistry? Well, if you think the other guy, you mess with the chemistry because you know the other player is better. If you feel that the other player is better, you're going to put him out there. Now, it's Purdy has an opportunity between now and then to say, you know what, guys, I got to make you guys think I may be better. I may be better. That always happens. This whole you can't lose your job to injury. Those are people that have never been on a football field, or you can't lose that. Those are guys in the studio talking about it. There have been guys losing their position to injury since they first put laces on a football.
Trent Green.
That's just a part of it. That's a part of it. If a guy comes in and he performs better, then you are going to allow that guy to play. And it doesn't matter what your resume has on it. If a guy comes in and he's playing well, he's moving forward because there's a lot more involved with it. It's not just your play. It's your contract. It's your age. It's the other players on the team. How much do I have to pay Bosa instead of this guy? All of these things start to come into play. The business of it. So if a guy's playing well, and once upon a time playing better than you, now it's if a guy is close to where you are, to where we feel we can coach around it, then you become expendable. So that's the part of it that we got to look at it. So that's what back how I was saying this. If you're doing it and Purdy is a part of the reason why, then you don't think about it. You already know where you are. You got a team that's winning. You have a formula for winning. That player is participating highly within your winning. You leave him there. If that's not the case, you can put the better player in. If you're coaching around him, you're going to put the better player in first chance you get.
Yeah, I see what you're saying with the Trent Williams analogy and all that. The only thing that gives me pause is it's that position, right? You're touching the ball every single play. You have so much influence on the game. That's the only thing that gives me pause. We shall see. Let's just hope we're having this conversation in January.
But let me say this though. Hold on though. You would have pause in putting in a guy, and you're talking about a guy who's touched the ball every time, who's going to touch the ball every play, and the leadership aspect of it.
Weird coming from me, right? I've been pro 10 this whole time.
The other guy is the guy that can win in those situations. You know that the rest of the locker room have seen him. Nobody in that locker room would wonder, can he win a divisional round game? Because they've seen him do it. They've done it with him.
True, but okay. So this is a better question then, right? How large of an undertaking would that be for 10 when you considered he's been off for 2 months and now immediately he gets thrown into the highest of stakes, right? Like this isn't like a week 11 game or a week 15 game where there's next week. Like the stakes are about as high as they get, yes, right? And that's the part.
Got it. Well, but it's a football game, and see, that's the thing. He's been there before, and see, the trick is that you don't allow the moment to be larger than you. It's just another game. Now everybody's going to freak out. Yes, you know the importance of the game, but that's why, we've had these conversations on the pod before or after. I've told you this. That's the difference between winning organizations, winning teams, really good players. I don't have to turn it up. You know how much that upsets me when the guy was like, we got to crank it up this week. We got to ramp it up. We got to really go hard this week. What, you weren't going hard last week?
Well, it's not even so much that part. It's more the rust factor for me, right?
Okay.
And the speed of the game, right? Doesn't the game speed up a little bit in the playoffs?
The game is going to speed up, but he's been there before. And now this is the thing. You think he's going to have more rust coming off of this part of the season, being in the meeting rooms, missing this time, and then stepping back out there as he's working his way back in, being around everything, as opposed to the rust he had when he had to come in for Trey after not even being involved
and not having
the entire offseason. You see what I'm saying? So he's been in that situation as well. And he came in and he played okay, because what happens to that guy is just another game. He knows the importance of the game. Of course, he wants to win the game. He wants to perform well. But the moment, a divisional round is not going to be too big for him to step into a game and play. He knows, I got to win this game or else. He's been there before too many times. And he goes to sleep knowing that, dude, I've won this game before. That's no big deal. So he won't be afraid of it.
Damn it, T, get healthy. Let's write this Disney movie. Let's do this.
Now, with all of that being said, I don't think he's gonna play, but let's keep going. I'm just giving you. I just like to give you, the both sides of it.
You cold-blooded. You cold-blooded. You give me all worked up. You're like, well, but that being said, I don't think he's gonna play.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Oh man, my man. So look, it's Purdy time, right? You got the Buccaneers coming to town. Brock Purdy is the quarterback, obviously. Interesting here. We talked about the quarterback situation. Would they go outside and bring someone in? Josh Johnson, someone they're familiar with, they're able to bring him in. Surprised or no, they didn't put a claim on Baker?
No, I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised at all. Because Baker hasn't performed well. Baker had his issues. Okay, you get a guy who's drafted number one. The number one team, that organization says we have to move on from him. That right there in itself is going to give you pause. You also have connections back to the organization where you can talk to people there and say what's happening there. He goes to Carolina. You look at the guys that he couldn't outperform. Now, a lot of it, you can look at the coach, you can look at the situation, everything that was there, because Matt Rule never should have been there. But you can look at the fact that
Matt Rule, man, what you got against Matt Rule?
Matt Rule's a really good college coach. He's a really good college coach. I'm not saying he's not a bad coach. What's the guys at UCLA right now?
Chip.
Yeah, I mean, Chip is a really good college coach. Chip is not an NFL coach. It's a different animal. It's a different game. NFL football is as different a brand of football in the game is played as high school football to UCLA or USC or Michigan. A really good high school, a really, really good high school, best high school in the country can't beat Michigan. It's a different brand of football. The way you play it, the guys how they play, the speed of the game, the way you have to think it, the preparation that goes into it, everything is different. it's that different going from those colleges to the NFL. It's a different game. It's a different game. The way you play it, the routes you run, the schemes that you can run, it's just different. So that's what I say about Matt Rule. And now, with all of that being said, back to Baker. Baker hasn't shown that he can be that guy. He just hasn't shown it. Baker is a talented guy. I said this when Baker, I mean, it's on wax. I go back and find it if necessary. I said it when he came out. Love the way he can spin a football. I saw him throw a football like firsthand. Dude can spin a football. I mean, the arm strength and the way he can spin a football, it's a pretty thing to see when he's on. But I said it then, I'll say it now. The league is not kind to small quarterbacks. It's and I was like, they already have one small quarterback in the league, that being Russell Wilson, who was performing well. I was like, look at the history of the game. How many small quarterbacks did you ever have performing well at the same time? There's always going to be that anomaly. You know, you're going to get the Fran Tarkenton. You're going to get the Doug Flutie. You know, there's always going to be this one smallish or smaller quarterback that'll come in. But the league is not kind to small guys, especially at that position. It's a big, strong, fast league, and you got to be special to not be big, strong, and fast to perform in the league. So that's what I thought about Baker coming out. I was just like, I just think it's bad timing because the guy of his generation was already there, being Russell Wilson. That guy was already in the league. So that's kind of how I saw it. And I think Kyle sees that as well. And so you move on. There was no reason to try and teach this guy your offense. Right now, I think they're kind of, I kind of like what Kyle is doing. Like, let me get someone who's already been in our system that understands what it is we want, who's already heard the speeches and they understand what it's like to be in this building. And then we ride out. And that's what you have to do. I told you, if a guy's not, sorry, like that, I'll be quiet after this. If a guy is on your roster, he should be able to perform. I hope that Kyle learned that from that little experiment the first time Jimmy got hurt. There should not be a guy in that quarterback room that can't play. Because if he's on your roster, you have to assume at some point he could play for you.
Obviously, Mayfield went to the Rams. They put in a claim for him. My first reaction was maybe they were being petty, claiming them. Just so
dude, their season's over. It's too late to be petty. Right now, they're just trying to survive. I heard the loser, the big time loser comment was the one that I heard the other day from Sean when he said, did you see him on the news when he said, we are way better than our record. No, you're not. No, you're not. Like, why are you trying to convince LA to love you? Like we are better than our record. No, you're not. No, I'm sorry. I'm really 6'8". You know, if you get on your knees and look at me at an angle from the knees, I'm really tall. Like, no, you're not. But anyway, let's get off the Rams.
I originally thought they were being petty, but then you come to learn that the Niners didn't even put in a claim. Is there a quarterback though that we're not thinking of? That obviously they got to be someone who is on the street right now, right? Not on a roster or someone that is going to be released. But is there a quarterback that we're not thinking of at this particular moment? And there are a lot of what ifs out there, right? What if Drew Brees picks up the phone? Are you answering?
Well, no, that's a whole different offense he has to run. It's a whole different style of play. It's a whole. I don't think Drew Brees' body is going to hold up. First of all, Drew Brees got out of the league because he was falling apart. He wasn't playing well, and I don't think he. I mean, he didn't. Getting older, he didn't get stronger.
Yeah, people were talking about his arm
Yeah,
disintegrating and all
Drew
that.
Brees, yeah, he couldn't throw the ball the same way, so he's not going to be any better. I don't see that happening. On top of the fact that he hasn't been throwing a football, so by the time he got himself ready to actually be able to throw, I think it's at a point. It's kind
It'll
of
be
like
the divisional round.
man, it's kind of like when I tell people all the time, they'll look like, man, you still look like you can play, and I'm like, no, I have no delusions of that. And I said, I tell people, let me explain this to you. My body would break down before I got in good enough shape to actually start conditioning to play the game. The process of getting in good shape, because it's a whole different level you have to be at to be a professional athlete. My body would break down while I'm preparing to get in condition to start training. That's where Drew Brees is. There's no way. That's just not going to happen. His body would break down before he could even get in good enough shape. You could go out there and play, like I could go out there and play, and then I'm no good for the next 3-4 weeks, and that's it. So that's a waste of time. So Drew Brees, that's a no. I mean, you could throw some other names out there, but I don't know a guy who's out there. I heard talks that Matt Ryan, if he hit the wire, would they give him a look? That's somebody he would probably give a look to. He knows his system, he knows his verbiage, he knows how to talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
that
saw that name. I saw that name too. Yeah.
that's somebody I think you would look at, but you I don't think you would usurp um Purdy for him.
I mean, it's kind of too late, right? I mean, at this point of the game, you would imagine like you kind of just got to roll
You got
with
to
the.
roll with your guy. This is your guy. He's on your roster. This is who it is. It's like every other position that they've had guys go down. The second guy has had to come in. We've seen it at the cornerback position. The second guy comes in. The third guy comes in. We've seen it at the safety position. You've seen it at the offensive line position. I know what it is at the quarterback position. We understand the importance of it, but I'm sounding like a broken record. He shouldn't be on your roster if he can't play. And they experienced that in 2020. You should not have a personal, and if you do that again, shame on Kyle. That's completely on Kyle. That's completely on John. That's bad management. That's bad coaching. If you got a guy on your team that can't play, I understand. You may not expect him. He Mr. Irrelevant. He hasn't been getting the reps. I don't expect him to come in and perform like he's Herbert. I don't expect him to come in and do all kind of amazing things like he's this experienced vet. He's a rookie player that has to learn how to play, but he should understand how to run your system. He should be able to do the basics. And you in turn you have to coach around him. No different than when guys start going down at the corner. What was I telling you about D'Amico Ryan? You got to coach around those deficiencies, but it shouldn't be a major thing because the guy should be able to do his job. Every position has a job description, and what did I always say? You have to be efficient. Whatever your job is, to be on an NFL roster, you should be efficient at the things they're asking you to do. Quarterback should be able to make the throws. You should be able to read defenses. You should be able to understand fronts and set your protection. Okay? The basics. If you can do those things, you should be able to play. Now, at every position, you got to be to last. You got to be great at something. And those are the things, reading defenses or strong arm or being able to make the tight window throws or incredible accuracy, all of these type things, that's going to help you make the Pro Bowls and all these type things and last longer. But you got to be efficient at it. And we saw before they had some guys who just couldn't, they didn't look like they should have been in the NFL at all. That shouldn't be the case. So there we go. That's my 5 cents on that, or 25 cents.
Bucks coming to town. We'll get ED's keys coming up on the other side. But first, this from Butcher Box. All right, ED, time now for your keys. This is the Believe in 49ers podcast on Believe Super Bowl champion Eric Davis. I'm Rahshaun Haylock. You got the Niners and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucs coming all the way across country on a short week. Tom Brady coming back to the Bay for what could possibly, who knows, potentially be his last time as a professional, as an NFL quarterback. And so you got Brock Purdy making his first career start. Can't sleep on Brady. Obviously, he had more heroics on Monday night. He looked like I don't even want to say a shell of himself for 3.5 quarters. What's less than a shell? Whatever that was, he looked less than that. And then all of a sudden, fourth quarter Brady magic, and the Bucs end up winning a very important game, which we talked about, right? Because we had the Saints the week before, and that was a huge game for that division. They stay in first place in their division and create even more space between them and New Orleans. And so, if there's anything to be learned from New Orleans game, can't give Brady life. Otherwise, he'll hurt you. So now time for your keys, ED. What do you got for this week against the Bucs? Purdy's first start, going up against the GOAT.
Stick to the formula that you had last week when Purdy came in off the bench. You should build off of that. Like I said, he was able to get that week running Miami's offense. You should don't try to come in and do the special things with it. Let's stick to the basics. Run the ball. Make the Tampa Bay defense stop you from running the ball. Stop your jet sweep. Stop your screens. Those are all just long handoffs. Make them have to tackle and take care of your playmakers. Get the ball out of Purdy's hands. Just allow him to be the point guard. And much like we've been saying, and everybody's been complaining, that's all that 10 could do. It's effective. You need to do that. Play to the defense. Understand defensively, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are led by a head coach whose philosophy is when things are going right, blitz. When things are going wrong, blitz more. That is Todd Bowles' mentality. When all else fails, blitz. That's the moniker of that team. So understand that protecting the quarterback and not getting in apparent, obvious passing situations is to your benefit. So again, play to your defense. Make certain that you try and stay ahead of the chains. Allow this defense to do what it's been doing. Defensively, Tampa has struggled scoring. Don't let them down. They expect it to be a tough night against this defense. Show them that it will be. Don't disappoint them, okay? Don't give them any life, as you said. Get on them early, often, and don't allow it to be a close game. Take advantage of the situation and the turnover opportunities that they will present, also the ones that this defense tends to create for itself. That's how I see this, how you attack this team. That's all I got, bro.
Those are ED's keys here on the Believe in 49ers podcast. I mean, they're no slouches on that defensive side of the ball, Tampa, which has allowed this anemic offense of the Buccaneers to be able to score just enough points to have them in the position that they're in right now. I talked about it earlier in the week. I already know how you feel about this. My man had 37 attempts, dog. Like, for real, 37. And he didn't even play the whole game. So if he would have played the whole game, you're talking about, like, he could have been up to, he could have been north of 40 attempts in his first real. I mean, he handled it, though. He handled it.
But that's the way, and that's what I keep telling you. The passing attempts where you're like, if whenever they go above 30, they lose. That's just the flow of the game. That's just what happens. It doesn't. You can throw the ball. I see Patrick Mahomes. I see Allen throw the ball 40, 50 times.
Different offense.
And they win because that's the way they plan on winning. It depends on the flow of the game.
Yeah, that's how they win.
And see, that's how the Niners had to win. It depends on the flow of the game. If you are running your head up against a brick wall, yes, you have to be committed to the run because Kyle's offense comes off of the run game. You have to be committed to it, but you also have to understand that we ain't winning running the ball today. This team has us figured out and what it is that they're doing. Kind of like when they were playing. Who were they playing the week before Miami? I can't even remember.
New Orleans.
New Orleans. And New Orleans had their run game figured out.
Yeah, Dennis Allen had that
They
whole
had it
thing figured out. Yeah.
So it's like you have to continue to do those things, but after a certain point, we ain't gashing them. We're not going to get the big run today. We're not going to win this game with these plays that we had designed. So we got to do something else. And that's the flow of the game that I'm telling you have to feel.
And also to your point, he didn't go down. I mean, long handoffs, right? I mean, he didn't go down the field at all, really. Yeah. So there's that. But I mean, it's the other part of that though. Some teams win that way, right? But the other part of that, typically, when the attempts are up that high as relates to the Niners, it's because they're trying to come from behind, and that's just not conducive to Kyle winning and his offense being at its tip top.
No, stop it. You see, you can't say it's not conducive to him winning because he's done it multiple times.
But not coming from behind. He doesn't come from behind very well.
But coming from behind, that's like I say, that was a game that they were going to lose. It was a bad game. But what I'm just trying to say, the 30 passing attempts doesn't necessarily mean you're losing. When you're behind, you don't have a choice. But what I'm saying, the flow of the game can still dictate you throwing the ball more than you would like. So that's what I'm saying. Forget that number, 30. That's not the case. The reason they lost those previous games had nothing to do with the passing attempts. It had everything to do with the coaching and the play. They got behind by doing bad things. It was bad football. And they could have run the ball, it was still bad football that got them behind. It was, bad teams play, bad defense, bad offense. It was just bad ball. So
I love our listeners though. This was not the Miami game. I think it was the New Orleans game, and the attempts were just. And they're tweeting me, "You all right over there?" Jimmy got 30 attempts at halftime. You good? I'm like, yo, what is happening here? But yeah,
because they know too.
I appreciate y'all out there for checking on your boy, because you know how I get. And like, I know I see what you're saying, Ed, but I also I'm still sitting on this rock. I get what you're saying, but I'm still sitting on. I
let
think
me put it to you this way.
There's some validity to some of the stuff that I'm saying.
But it's the flow of the game. Let me put it to you this way. The way the 49ers made it through to the Super Bowl with all of those rushing attempts when Mostert had his run, do you think they can do that again? Do you think that's a method where someone can come in and run the ball 40 times a game and make it that way?
Yeah, I mean, that's not. I mean, that was just one of those nights, right?
And thank you.
That was one of those nights.
That's my point. So that's.
But can I say something else though?
Yes.
It was one of those nights, but you also look at the opponent, right? And the Niners.
That's my point.
They had been doing a good job of just.
But listen to me. That's my point. It's the flow of the game. It's who you're playing, what you plan, and what are you thinking? If like, okay, this is happening, because if I'm coming in and I'm throwing this route and I got something happening and I'm getting these yards off of it and you're not adjusting to it, I'm going to continue to do it. Just like if I'm handing the ball off on a wide veer play or a toss and you're not stopping it, I'm getting 7, 8 a chunk. I'm going to continue to run it. That's what happened that game. There's no way he started the game saying we're going to run this ball 45 times. No offensive coordinator in the NFL designs an offensive game plan to run the ball 45 times. But if you ain't tackling me, guess what?
You're gonna get the block 45 times. Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So that's the flip side of that. That's what I'm saying. You just feel the flow of the game and you do what's going to win it for you. So that's it. We know his philosophy is to run the ball, but we saw New Orleans, and I told you, what did I tell you early on? Kyle is going to have to adjust his offense because the league is catching up with everybody, not just Kyle. You saw it in Green Bay. You saw it in
LA.
You saw it with the Rams. Okay, everybody who's running that offense, you kind of see like, wait a minute.
Except McDaniel, Tua been lighting him up till he came to the Field of Dreams.
Well, McDaniel just got there, and McDaniel's just got there, and McDaniel's is adding his own little sprinkle to it because every coach is going to add his own little flavor. You're going to have the basics, then they're going to add their flavor, the things that they wanted to do that they weren't allowed to do at the other place, and then you're going to base some of that off the talent on your roster, and you're going to do some of those things, and then what'll happen is everyone's going to say, "Oh, okay, he's just doing this." It's gonna all fall right back into.
And I guess you could say the same about Minnesota too, with O'Connell out there because he's a first year guy and all that.
It's gonna all fall back into the same soup bowl, and people are gonna start pulling out the alphabets and saying this is what happens.
Well, this we know. There's tape now on Brock Purdy. A lot of pass attempts on that tape, and this will be his first career start since that tape has been out there. First career start, period, and he's going up against the GOAT. So this is a have yourself a day, Brock Purdy, huh? Why not? Look, 1:25 p.m. kickoff on Fox. They're sending their A team: Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olsen, Aaron Andrews, Tom Rinaldi. If you're into that sort of thing, Niners trying to increase this now 5-game win streak, and they'll look to do so with a new quarterback under center after Jimmy Garoppolo suffered what was believed to be a season-ending injury, which now may not be, depending on how long the season lasts. So we shall see. As for next week, stay tuned to social media in terms of this here pod, because if you get it, you may not get it the way you normally consume it. So just be on the lookout for that. So look out for social media. You may not get that notification that you normally get, like you got this morning or whatever, for you to listen to this one. As always, we want to continue to encourage you to download, subscribe, rate, and review. We're located wherever you find your podcast. If there's a like or a follow button on your particular podcast subscription service, go ahead, hit that like or follow button. Give us a follow on YouTube as well. Hit us up on social media. I'm at Haylock. On Twitter, he is at _Eric Davis _. And on Instagram, I am at WatchRayRay. He is at ED25. So, from a partner, Super Bowl champion, Eric Davis, I'm Rahshaun Haylock. This has been the Believe in 49ers podcast on Believe. Y'all stay tuned now. Stay tuned, you hear?
Peace.